All right, so I'm Mr. Silber. Welcome to our parent information night for the Academy of Biotechnology. I see many parents and a handful of students, some of whom I know and am quite fond of. I'm Mr. Silber. I'm the coordinator of the Academy of Biotechnology. I also teach our juniors in the molecular biotechnology class, which is a double period advanced science class, which is the introduction to most of the lab skills that they'll be using beyond both in our special topics in biotechnology class and then for many of our students who also do internships and work elsewhere. To introduce a couple of other people, this is Ms. Namichetu, who is our special topics and biotechnology teacher. So she teaches our seniors. On the way in, you probably met our president, Amanda Gall, and this is our vice president of social media and outreach, Sia Sharma. And as I mentioned earlier, we have our vice presidents of media and documentation, Nathan Lee, and Ishmael Conde. And then, of course, I'd also like to welcome our department chair and our administrator. We have Ms. Keller and Mrs. Adele Salam in the back. So real quick, I'd like to give you a little background on the academies as a whole, the career clusters here in Montgomery County. As a research organization, it's kind of interesting to talk about the history of the program. So between 1993 and 2000, Montgomery County Public Schools did a case study. It was called the Post-Secondary Employment and College Enrollment Among MCPS Graduates, the Role of Career-Focused Programs. So what they did is they followed over 2,000 students who graduated from Montgomery County into careers, some of whom they followed directly into trade, some of whom they followed to 2-year or 4-year institutions. And what they were hoping to find was that Montgomery County, this very well-established, well-funded school system, was preparing students for success. And while that's not what they found initially, they did find some really interesting things. They found that not many students, or not as many as they might have hoped, did find success. However, the ones who did had exposure to the fields that they entered upon before they went into that track. And this wasn't just found in Montgomery County. The state of Maryland found it, which also was the guide to their own CTE programs. And many other states and school systems throughout the country found similar results. And so all of these different organizations went into the path of creating things like what we have here in the academy system, which was having special programs which provide exposure and opportunities for students to get to see, participate in, and get access to fields that they might want to work in later. So each school in the county looked at their surrounding cultural and economic ecosystem to see what different programs would work best for those schools based on what's around them. And so naturally, with the several hundred biotech organizations and NIH right down the beltway from us, we became the home of the Academy of Biotechnology. So what that means is, in this program, we have a lot of different rigorous academic opportunities here, but also a lot of various career and learning opportunities connecting to various organizations in our community, which also, hopefully, will continue to give your students and members in our program opportunities, whether it be internship, field trips, guest speakers, with a lot of these companies that we work closely with. And it's been one of my pleasures in the last few years to help to foster some of these relationships with some of these organizations. So the MCPS model for these community and career partnerships is the idea of rigor, relevance, and relationships. And with these three things, we get engagement. So in our program, we have a focus on getting both college and graduate level experience. So a lot of the different lab skills, and we'll talk about a few of them later, that your students get to do in this program are things that otherwise they may not see until either master's or PhD programs. Indeed, there's several skills that I never experienced in my entire academic career that I've had the pleasure to work with our students on. And I think that's pretty cool. So as we develop all these skills and practice all these skills, students have the opportunity, either their junior or senior year, to take the Biotechnician Assistant Credentialing Exam. And so this is an industry-recognized exam that's designed to assess both the core skills that have been identified by both industry and academic research institutions, as well as core knowledge that's also necessary to understand what you're doing in these settings. And so the purpose of the exam of the base and why it was created was to certify high school and junior college graduates to work in positions that were usually reserved for college graduates and post-college graduates. We've so far had, I think, over the last 2 years, 16 students pass, which is pretty cool. Now, real quick, what does it mean? What do you have to do in order to complete the program? And again, we'll continue talking about what's in the program in a moment. But the first thing that's important is, I believe most of you are parents of 9th and 10th graders, is that correct? Okay. So one of the things you want to make sure you're doing is that your student is taking their 3 core sciences in 9th and 10th grade. Now, for those of you who are 10th grade parents, it's possible that they're in just their 2nd science class now. And if that's the case, that's fine. It just means that during their junior year, to make sure that they're fulfilling all their high school requirements, you're also having them sign up for their 3rd of these NGSS science classes. They can be replaced by an AP class as well, because the AP Bio, AP Chem, and AP Physics are all NGSS aligned. So they'll also help them fulfill their graduation requirements. But again, we recommend, especially for those of you who are freshman parents, to make sure that your child takes all 3 before junior year, just because it makes it easier for scheduling, since molecular is a double period class. It helps avoid running into conflicts later. So just to reiterate, the course requirements for the program, again, we recommend those 3 in those first 2 years, but then by junior year, they'll take molecular biotechnology, which is a double period advanced course, and then senior year, special topics in biotechnology, which is a single period advanced course. Cool? All right, I'm seeing some nodding. All right, so earlier I mentioned I'd list out some of the lab techniques. So first and foremost, all of our students get a lot of experience working in teams. So both through doing hands-on lab work, but also doing research and presenting research together. They will maintain a professional lab notebook. One of the things I'm actually excited about, I've been working with Millipore Sigma on, is shifting to what is becoming more standard, digital lab notebooks. So hopefully in the next couple of years, we'll be making that transition too. But at this point, we're still using the old-fashioned paper lab notebooks. They also learn how to properly communicate their findings. Like with all science classes, lab safety. My personal favorite, because especially those of you with, like I said, most of your 9th and 10th grade, you might not have heard of this. I'm famous for my apps. I make a lot of these apps to practice lab math. So all of our students in the program become expert at calculating dilutions and solutions. And you might see them nod. We also do pipetting. So these are all the basic stuff. But it gets pretty far. We go all the way through. We do CRISPR now. We do SDS-PAGE. We do PCR. We do ELISA assays. We do microarrays, etc. It's pretty cool. We also, as of last year, have added Western blotting to our repertoire. The Student Association, I already introduced the officers who are with us today. They help to organize monthly events. So we have lunch and learns about every month. We also will be having on December 14th, this will come up in a second, our career fair. The officers usually apply around winter for their new positions. We'll be sending out messages via Canvas, Remind, and email when that period opens up. It's again, one of my favorite things is getting to work with and develop not just the members of the program, but also the officers that help us to run the program and to find all these great opportunities for the kids. So there's a lot of different places you can keep up with our day-to-day interactions. So for example, you can find us via the Northwest website. We also have our own website, NWHSAOB.com. Yeah, feel free to take a picture. It stands for Northwest High School Academy of Biotechnology. We also have a Canvas page that so the moment anyone fills out the application form, I send out an email with the links both to our Remind as well as our website, and then I also send an invitation to our Canvas page. So if you're connected to your child's Canvas, you will also get connected to our Academy's Canvas. And I'll leave it up for another moment in case anyone else wanted to take a picture. I did see a couple of cameras come up. Cool. We've had a history in the past of doing a lot of awesome field trips. The last couple years, because of COVID, I've kind of held back a little bit. I felt a little strange in the context as being a health-focused program, doing things that involved a lot of gathering. Now with the new bivalent vaccine, I'm feeling a little bit more confident in that. So we are getting back into field trips. And this year, we have 3 that we're definitely planning to do and a couple that are tentative. So we're definitely planning to go to Walter Reed Army Institute of Research. We've been in talks with Millipore Sigma. They're excited to have us. I believe we're on track with our partners, Emergent Biosolutions, to do a trip with them. And then we've also been invited to Shady Grove's Bioinformatics program, which has some pretty cool facilities. And unfortunately, let me close the subtitles for a second. Oh, and AstraZeneca. Prior to the pandemic, we were in talks with AstraZeneca to do a field trip. And so we're going to be reaching out to them as well. But the first 3 are the ones that are probably coming the soonest. I'm waiting on an email from Walter Reed. I think we're planning to do one with them in November. So I think that's going to be our first one this year. So as mentioned, we have guest speakers about once a month. All of these are recorded, much like tonight's event, because we want to make sure that all of our members are able to access any event that we have at any time. We've had a lot of fun ones in the past. So for example, Starfleet service dogs came in and taught us how conditioning works with their animals. We've also had the national happiness expert, Dr. Tim Bono, come in and talk about positive psychology and research. And I believe, I took the picture out. Our friends at Walter Reed have come in with their bug lab, and that's been pretty cool. This year, we're actually trying to do something extra. We're trying to match each month having one of our guest talks be tied to our curricula. So in October, for instance, we're usually talking a lot about industry and standards. And so Militeny Biotech is going to come in and talk about quality control and quality assurance procedures. And in November, we're in talks with Rooster Bio, who's going to come and talk about their cell culturing lines to line up with our cell and function units. We've also been developing, as I mentioned a moment ago, a close relationship with Millipore Sigma. So they're going to be giving a bunch of guest speakers, a field trip, as we mentioned. And I just this afternoon was on a call with them because they're coming next Friday to train our students to calibrate micropipettes. So that's really cool. So they're bringing about 10 people. So it'll be about a 2-to-1 ratio. So one of them for every 2 students to run through that training. And they want to do something like this with us every quarter. So that's pretty cool. And they're going to work with both our molecular and our special topics classes. They also want to develop internship opportunities to create a pathway for our students to go and work with them. And they're going to be running mock interviews with our molecular biotechnology class to help our students develop towards those careers. And in the same vein, Emergent Biosolutions, who's been our business partner for years, also guest speakers, field trip, and they also help out with in-house labs, and they do mock interviews with our seniors in special topics. So starting this year, we're actually going to have those mock interview job prep opportunities happening in both our junior and senior classes. So it's pretty exciting. I touched on this a little bit earlier, but in December, on the 14th, we will be having our annual biotechnology business and internship fair. This has been really cool opportunities for the past few years that we've done this. We usually have about 30 or more companies and organizations in attendance. So we have universities as well as private institutions. And you'd be surprised how many of them are looking for people to work with them. I remember at the first time we did this, one of the students I heard walking away say, "I don't know which internship to choose." And I remember thinking, man, I wish I had that problem when I was their age. It's pretty cool. Selfishly, I would also like all of you to come to our Chipotle fundraiser. And when you leave later, and I'm not rushing you out, we have plenty of time to chat and to ask questions. But Sia and Amanda have stacks of flyers. One of the things that's been important to me is that I don't charge any fees for the program. And part of that is my feeling about the academies is that this is specifically a program to help your students find eventual jobs and careers. So I always feel a little bit weird about the idea of having a yearly activity fee for the program. But for that reason, all of the things that we get from cords to medals, et cetera, we fund using money that we get from fundraisers. Now, Chipotle's dope. because it's 33% of proceeds come back to donations. And now it didn't used to work with online orders, but it does. And on the flyer, it has the code that you can use if you order online. So if you happen to be hungry and happen to be getting food on October 17th from 5 to 9, I would love to see you at Chipotle. I'm going to be there for most of the time. I think I'm actually going to be arriving around 6. So I won't be there at the early end, but I will be there from 6 to 9. So please come by. Please come say hi. And feel free to come by and sit down and chat. I'm definitely a fan of long conversation. So I'd love to see some of you there. With that in mind, we now have an opportunity for you to ask questions overall. Any question is welcome, and any question is helpful. Chances are, even if you're not the one to ask it, or even if you're the one to ask it, other people might be wondering it too. You can ask them of me. You can ask it of any of our officers, and you can also ask it of Miss Nabichetu. So the question, when you're signing up for the program, do parents also get an email follow-up, or just the students? Do you mean like right when you apply, or in general will you receive communications from the program? Yeah, no, totally. You'll receive communications from the program. Like I said, when students join, one of the first things that happens is I invite them to the Canvas page, and so much like you get messages from other from classes via Canvas, you'll also get them from the program via Canvas. We also get, when they apply, they give your email too, parent email, so we also will have your email on file if we need to send it that way. Yeah, does that answer your question? And I just realized, I'm not sure it ever showed up in the slides, but we do also have social media if you want to follow us that way. And I'll let them tell you the social media codes in a second. Thank you very much. So that answered your question? Okay, yeah. Great question. I will put it up on the screen. I'm surprised I didn't have it in the slide already. And I saw a hand over here. Yeah. No, so yeah, so you can join at any point up until you apply for classes junior year, because naturally if you're already in classes junior year, it's too late to take the class. However, joining sooner is nice because then you start to hear about the field trips and other opportunities. So it is nice to be in it sooner. But yeah, no, if we have a lot of students who join. In fact, I believe I heard from both of you that you didn't join until sophomore year, right? Yeah. So we have some people join later, but yes, you can join between 9th grade and until you sign up for classes at the end of 10th grade. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Anyone in the academy is welcome to the field trips. There are trips where there's a limit to how many people can come, and in that case, it's first come, first serve. And that, unfortunately, is often not even limited by the bus space. It's limited by the organization and how much they feel safe allowing. So yeah, it's something I've been thinking about a little bit, trying to, because again, a lot of these companies have really been wanting us to come, maybe having more than one date we go, if it seems like there's a large overflow of how many people want to go versus are able to go. But at this time, this year at least, so far, we're just signed up for the field trips that we have. And each of them will be as many as they allow us to have. Yeah. Yeah, so the question, I want to make sure I have it right. So is there a specific time we meet outside of classes for the members? So it's not in a regular way, like it's not like every Thursday at lunch or something, but it's periodically. So about once a month we'll have these lunch and learns, these guest talks that all of our members are welcome to come to. Those are always posted on our calendar, and our calendar's on our website on the Canvas page. They're all synced, so anytime we post one to one or the other, they're always there. It's also nice because when we record them, if you go to the calendar link from the past, for instance, we post the links to the videos at that spot on the calendar. So if you happen to miss something that you're really excited about because something comes up, you had to do a retake for a test, or you were sick or family emergency or what have you, you don't miss the thing that you were excited to see. In terms of other events, so things like the officer applications, the career fair, field trips, all of those ones also will be on the calendar, and we'll be sending out messages about them as they approach. Does that answer your question? Cool. Those are 2 good questions I got from you so far. Thank you. Yeah. They can. So there was a point in history where that wasn't the case, but for the past 4 years or so, that has been the case. It makes sense. 2 research programs work well together. Yeah. So this usually makes it a little easier, I believe, to complete the Science Scholars. Ms. Keller, are you still in charge of the Science Scholars? Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, but special topics also counts as an additional one, right? Yeah. Good question. And just for the recording purposes, I just want to reiterate those last 2 questions. So first was, can you do Ulysses and the Academy? And the answer is yes. And the second was, can you do Science Scholars and the Academy? And the answer is also yes, and that the 3 courses do count towards 3 of those advanced electives towards Science Scholars. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you all so much for coming. We still have half an hour for the room, so if you want to stick around and ask questions one-on-one, I'm happy to answer them. Owen, did you want me to put up the social media too real quick? Okay, what's the social media? Instagram and our Twitter are at NWHS AOB, so just like our website. And then we also have a link tree. And I didn't know what a link tree is, but maybe some of you do. But our link tree account is NWHS in caps and then AOB not in caps. Was that right? And I added an extra E in tree. There we go. Cool. All right, I'm going to stop the recording, and feel free to mingle. Also, feel free to go home and go to sleep. It's totally up to you.